We arrived at the Marine Corps
Recruit depot.
recruit depot, and then they loaded us on that cattle car, and up we went up that street right up in through from the depot to the Marine Corps base, and we were sent to some bunks that night, and the next morning they were marching us over to the oh, I can't think what you call the quartermaster, to the quartermaster, and all the other guys walking along there by that old theater and all that stuff in there. They'd be walking along, you'll be sorry, and that just rang everywhere you went from then on. And so I fit into the thing pretty quick. I like to froze to death that first 2 or 3 nights. I always get cold in San Diego because they just don't have enough blankets. And anyway, another kid up there from somewhere east said, I'm freezing to death. Do you mind if I come over and share your bunk with you? And I said, I don't care. I'm freezing to death too. So if they'd have called us in there, they'd think we'd have been a couple of homos. Says always glad that nobody caught up with us there.
Right.
But anyway, we got through that, and I had a couple old DIs. One was a great big old German, PFC. The other was a buck sergeant from Guadalcanal, Sergeant Payne. Just a genuine guy. Never had much of a sense of humor, but he really a nice guy. But that old BFC, he would come into our huts there, and he would take those sand buckets for fire, and he would take and put those on each toe and reach up to those rafters and chin himself about 15, 20 times. He had muscles all over him. But he was a good old guy too. We had some good DIs. So we started out there, and I had a hard time with my left and right at first. And one little Mexican guy, he just couldn't get it right. Your other left, you damn fool. How they talk on that.
Right.
So anyway, we got through. We had one guy that he was kind of wasn't going to be tamed, He kind of bucked against everything, and him and Sergeant Payne went outside of the gate one night and had it out with their bare fists. And from then on, he kind of marched right. He kind of didn't give old Sergeant Payne that much trouble. But
Helped him figure it out.
so we went through there in good shape, and I remember washing clothes and had that old milk bucket, great big old double force steel thing, weighed a ton, and I'd put her clothes in there, and then he'd have to take them out and put them on my arm, and then they'd inspect the bucket to see if there's a drop of water there. And one day I had a drop of water left in there, and he put me on cigarette duty, and I just really was aggravated because I didn't smoke, and I had to go around picking up those cigarette butts, and aggravated me to death. So.
Yeah. So then you graduate. Where'd you go from there?
Graduated and went to miss duty for the telephone. I went to sign the telephone school, and every 4th class of the telephone school had to do miss duty for the rest of the classes, and we were the 4th class, and to go into a telephone school, so they put us in miss duty, and that was a job I hated. I didn't want to get hold to anything restaurant, or I wouldn't want to work at a restaurant or anything handling food, because that old drunken mess sergeant, he was an old character, and boy, I had a boy from my town that was a Mexican boy, and he had had a couple semesters of college, and so he got down there and he applied for. They sent him to officers candidate school. They were going to, and they put him into a platoon there, and he didn't do anything but just lay around for about a month before they got him out to Quantico or wherever they sent him. And he'd come by there at night after having liberty, and he'd peek in and see me back there working in that kitchen. I'd be down there underneath, shining those silver steam pots I had in there, you know, chrome steam pots. And he would come in there and sit there and laugh, and I'd say, "You character, this is where you ought to be. If you're going to be an officer, you ought to get down there and realize what life is about." But anyway, he and I get together on Sunday and he was a good guy to have around. I'd never been around anybody of a Negro or any mixed race or any other race, but Butch Berber was his name, and we played basketball together. And in high school, I was a pretty good basketball player, and I was on the first team for 4 years, and Butch was a guard there on that team, and we played a lot of basketball together, so we were good friends. And so he finally got shipped on off to Quantico or wherever he was going. But I was down there scouring pans, and there's long hours. We'd got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and work till midnight, and that old guy, he would be half drunk. And finally he wanted to know if anybody could iron. I said, "I can." And he said, "I'll take you off of mess duty if you'd go back there and iron my shirts." So I spent most of my time just ironing his shirts during the rest of that time. Because we had to do our own shirts at home a lot of the time. I had sisters, but they had so much to do too that us guys had to do some of that ironing and stuff like that we can do. So we went back, and I went out of that thing and went to, after that then I got right into telephone school, and had some old guys from Guadalcanal teaching telephone school. They were fun guys to be around. They were telling their stories and their war stories, and we all wanted to listen. So that was kind of an interesting point. And then we were sent out to Pine Valley, California, straight on out almost to the Arizona border. There's a kind of a park out there, kind of a Pine Valley park, and they sent us out there because there were these old lodgepole pines and things like that, and we could climb them and learn to stretch wire out and with our gaffs and not burn the poles. And if you burn them, you got scoured good with that branches going down. But anyway, we went out there, and that was just neat. We lived in a kind of a log cabin situation and had biscuits and gravy and sausage and just real home cooking out there at Pine Valley. We really enjoyed it out there. And it was out there in no man's land. And so we went out there till we finished telephone school. And then when we finished there, I was assigned to the 13th Marines at Camp Pendleton, 17 area. And we went out there, and I was one of the first few that went into the 5th Divisions that time. They were just forming it. And I went in there and met a couple guys that were lifelong friends, and one of them was a red-headed guy from New England, New Hampshire, and a couple other guys in there that were good friends, and we went all the way through the Marine Corps together. And so we would sit around and be talking at night out there at Camp Pendleton, and these guys would want to go out and go to a whorehouse or something, and I said, "No, I've made up my mind I'm going to be a virgin when I get married, and I'm not going to do that." And so we got to going on liberty, and these guys would come back and tell their stories. And you know, the thing people talk about more than anything else is the first thing is girls, and I tell them the second thing is religion. I find that that's a subject we'd get on every time. We later lived in tents, and always our tent had 8 people in it. And every night we'd be on religion. And I was really searching for Jesus. I had gone to a Methodist church, and all I'd ever been told is, by get in there and work your hardest and do your best to get to heaven by your good deeds. And I was just like old Martin Luther. This doesn't work. It didn't work one day, and the next day I'd be wondering if I was bound for hell, and I was always living on the edge. And our old chaplain was a Methodist graduate from some place, I'm sure, because he sounded just like those old Methodist preachers. I was going on Liberty up to L.A. one time, and up to Long Beach. My grandmother lived in Long Beach, and I was going to stop up and stay at her house and that night, or that Sunday, and I got up there at Sunday, and I saw people just flocking in this big old Methodist church. I thought that church ought to have the answer. And I asked the bus driver to stop and let me out, and I jumped out and walked over to that old Methodist church and walked in there, and he preached the same old malarkey. Just don't smoke, drink, nor chew, nor go what the girls would do, you know, that thing. And as if it depended on me, and I had not a thing to do with my being saved. And when it was all over, why, there's a whole bunch of us Marines and sailors went forward, really seeking to know the Lord. And he gave us a little pep talk of being good guys, and then he had a word of prayer and dismissed us, and I thought, what a deal. I embarrassed myself walking up here, coming forward, and didn't get anything afterward. And I was just really angry with that guy to think, this is the lousiest thing I've... So I never heard. We would sit around and discuss our religion, and I was just a religious Protestant, all I was. And so anyway, I talked to the old chaplain, and he didn't know his head from a hole in the ground, and neither did the one I got in the 5th Division. And so we went struggling our way through there, and then when we came home for our, we trained in Camp Pendleton for quite a few months, up till about, I think, around July, I think, of that year.
What regiment are you in during this time?
13th Regiment.
13th, okay.
And we trained there, and I learned how to connect up all kinds of parallel lines and phantom lines and all that stuff, you know. And I had a knack for that stuff, and I had an interest in it. And so I came home for a furlough before we went over to Hawaii, and we went down to the ballpark there in San Diego, made several trips down there to make a trial run, where we were going to meet in the ballpark in San Diego, and then from there we go over to the troop ship. And we went down there, and then the last day we went down for one final trial run and went over everything. And then the next day we went down and went to the troop ship. And the rumors were flying, well, we're going to go by San Francisco and pick up a bunch of girls, and we're going to have a party to just celebrate leaving the States. And all kind of scuttlebutt stories,
Sure.
You know how they hear. And so we went to Hawaii and landed at Hilo, and I remember coming in on Hawaii there on the Royal Hawaiian side, sailing by there and going on down through to Hilo on the other side there. And we got on cattle cars there, those old pineapple cars, and started up to the top of the hill there on the east side. I guess it's the east side. There's a big tourist thing there now, and so anyway, we would go up there, and at every stop, why, the Hawaiians would be out there with fruit, and that's giving us and all, and we had an enjoyable ride, riding through those old bamboo railroad bridges and all that stuff. It was. So we got over there, and we were in tents while we lived there, and one day, G Battery was just right across the street from our front door of our tent, the door of our tent. And there was a guy in G Battery that was a good friend. They worked together in Guadalcanal to Johnny Basilone.
Oh, okay.
And one day, everybody said, John Basilone's coming down the street. And well, we all wanted to get a glimpse of John Basilone. And we all got out there, and there old John comes swaggering down. And he'd go and do that. He'd come down about every week to visit his buddy and drink beer with his buddy there in that G Battery tent. He was a first sergeant in G Battery, or gunnery sergeant or something.
So how old would you say he was?
Oh, he wasn't more than 25 or 26
Okay.
probably, because he's
How
only
how
20.
tall was he?
Oh, he wasn't any taller than you.
Okay. So about
First
5'8".
I
I think he
suppose.
was probably a New Yorker, wasn't he?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I never got to know him or even to meet him. I just stood out there and kind of gazed. Man, he's a Medal of Honor winner.
Yeah.
I didn't know what all that meant, but
Right, he was the real deal.
they sent him home because they said your war days are over. You got the Medal of Honor and you don't have to go back. And
Yeah.
he finally stayed home for a little while, and then he said, "My men need me, and I'm going to go." So he went